the question is very practical. If the United States or any nice other country wants to help Israel to build a nuclear reactor in order to produce energy, how can it be done? What are the limits and what are the possibilities to reach this result? I tried to look a bit into these. First of all, you mentioned the NPT. Of course, NPT is a problem. Israel is not a member of the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. I had the intention to give you a summary of it, but time is too short. So I tried to look into the various precedents. Where and how can we learn something from other cases? Taking into consideration that Israel is not a party to the NPT, and some people say, I don't say so, that Israel has some kind of atomic capabilities, nuclear capabilities. We only know that Israel will not be the first to introduce nuclear arms into the Middle East, full stop.
Not the second one.
So I think that when I look for the precedents, I try to find the case where we deal with a country which is not a member of the NPT and where there is suspicion that it has the nuclear bomb. The only case that I found, and Valerie also mentioned it, of course, is the case of the United States and India. And this is why I wanted to speak a little bit about this case, and I promise to be very short. Because we all the time speak about nuclear energy, but we should know what are the problems, what are the difficulties. So here we have an agreement, the Indo-US Nuclear Civilian Agreement. It was initiated, the whole process was initiated in the year 2005, maybe some of you know about it, and the whole process ended in 2008 because it was very, very complicated to reach this kind of agreement. The idea was how to make it possible for India to get from the United States both fuel and technology in order to build its reactor which would create electricity. And it is very important that India should have such a possibility because it uses a lot of fossil energy, and this is dangerous to the whole world. We have learned a lot about it here this afternoon. So there were actually 4 difficult stages which had to be gone through. Stage number 1, there is a law in the United States, a law of 1954, I think, about nuclear energy, and in order to give the government of the United States the power to reach an agreement with India, this statute had to be changed. The statute was changed. This was not so difficult because the Americans were in favor of this agreement. So in the year 2006, this law, this statute, in America they're called statute and not law, was changed accordingly. This was, as I said, the first step, which was not so difficult. Step number 2, India was asked to separate completely all its military nuclear facilities from the civilian ones. And this is what India did, and it declared that it had 35 civilian places with energy, with nuclear energy, and this was the second step which had to be taken. Well, this was only a matter of India to do because it was just a matter that they had to do internally, and the number 35 was accepted by the other countries. Now we come to more difficult stages. Stage number 3, there had to be made a safeguards agreement. You know that according to the NPT, all the states that are parties to the NPT, except for the 5 big ones who have the right to have nuclear power, all these states have to submit their civilian nuclear activities to safeguards systems of the International Atomic Energy Agency. And in each case, such an agreement has been made by the other countries, and India had to do the same. So, of course, the nuclear the International Atomic Energy Agency was very careful, and it's only the year 2008 that they came up with a proposal, the governors of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and it was signed by India, and even after the whole text came into power in 2009. It is not only the safeguards agreement, there are also additional protocols which make the safeguard system even more extreme or even more serious. I'm not so sure it is so serious because we have seen 4 cases where states have managed to cheat, but at the end they have been found out. Then we come to number 4, and this is the one which took the longest time. There exists, I should say, an entity which is called a Nuclear Suppliers Group. Nuclear Supply, NSG. And they are the group which is in charge of making sure that nuclear technology is not passed on to states who would use it, would abuse it. And this group was very hesitant. There were several meetings before they at last reached the stage where they said, okay, we agree that India should be able to get nuclear fuel and nuclear technology, despite the fact that it is not a member of the NPT. But of course, they made it very difficult. In other words, India had to adopt a law which was in accordance with the export and retransfer principles of this group. India had to promise that it will not make any additional nuclear tests, and it had to show that it is basically in favor of non-proliferation, and that there should also be a nuclear disarmament. So these were more or less the stages. I hope I didn't go too long. And at last, as I said, in 2008, the matter was settled and it was agreed. But I would like to mention also that politically it was not so easy, because when the treaty was concluded, it was of course brought before Congress in the United States. Congress approved it, because the United States thinks that we make a lot of money out of it. But the Parliament in India had a lot of difficulties. There was even a stage where there was a fear that that the government might fall because of this treaty. At the end, I think the Prime Minister found a way out of this problem, and the treaty was approved. But as I said, it was not easy. It was difficult, both with the nuclear supplier group in particular. It was not easy with the Atomic Energy Agency. And at the end, we have of course, China was completely opposed to it. But most states accepted it politically, that India had the right to have this kind of help from the United States in order to build its nuclear energy facility. I just said that I studied this case more carefully because I thought that this is the one which is most pertinent to any possible case where Israel might ask for help, maybe from France or maybe from the United States, to build such a nuclear facility. Thank you very much.